Tuhin Sinha, one of our authors for Write India, has just completed 10 years of writing books. Tuhin, 10 years of writing books makes you one of our senior contemporary authors. I don't think there are many around in at least the top list who have been writing for 10 years in our Write India panel. Yeah. So, how does it make you feel?
Well, it's a humbling experience because, like I said, I mean, we belong to a generation which did not grow up wanting to become authors. So, when the first book happened, for most of us, the first book wasn't necessarily meant to be the first book. Um, I wrote it as a film script. It happened 2 years later as a book. But then that's where the challenge really began. You know, like, I think one of the questions when we were having the session was somebody said that most of the first books are autobiographical. So yes, I mean my first book too had elements of autobiography in it. But then that's where the challenge began. I didn't want to repeat any of my books, and at the same time, I wanted to be here for a long haul. And the only way that was possible was by challenging myself with every successive book, and that's what I try to do. So what followed was a cricket thriller, followed by three political thrillers, a parenting book from a dad's point of view, a political book which is co-authored with the top minister. And finally, time came a full circle last year when I wrote a book called Let the Reason Be Love, which was very similar to my first book. So it took 9 years for time to come a full circle. And again, at this stage, I'm kind of experimenting with different
Yeah.
stuff with every new
Yeah,
book.
that is one thing I've noticed about you all through the years, having read your first book and your latest book, that although you are experimenting, you are going into different fields, and one sees that you are challenging yourself and doing stuff. But there is always that uh, that commonality, that common element, that common thread running through. There is always writing, there is always politics. These two are your staples which have kind of continued, whether it is writing your books, or it is working with the government, or it is writing your scripts for television, or whatever it is. But these two elements kind of are a part of your life.
Somebody had once told me there's more politics in personal relationship than anywhere else. So I don't see politics as a very exclusive subject or a very exclusive milieu or
Yes.
world which like I should stay away from. So even in the books which are not which don't necessarily have a social backdrop, the whole manner in which the dynamics of the relationships between the key characters play out has a lot of maneuvering in it, which we all indulge in without us necessarily realizing it at a given point of time. And I'm sure that's what politics is. There are two or three things which I've kind of, when you talk about the common thread, there are two or three things which I've consciously tried to maintain in my writing. One is the interplay between personal relationships and what's happening in the society or in the political world in the backdrop. Two is the fusion between reality and fiction. So in most of my books, you wouldn't kind of be able to figure out where reality begins and fiction starts, and vice versa. And I think that's what gives the writing a very stark feel. It makes it more relatable for people because I mean, we are living in an age where people like to consume stuff which is more real, which is something which they easily identify with.
You say politics is a part of our lives, and so it's not something that is very difficult to write about because it's a part of our relationships, our
Right.
living, everything. And yet, not many people write, not many authors touch politics as you do, as a kind of a continuous thread throughout your work. And it is also a part of who you are, in the sense you do have political connections, inklings. You do like to work with the government, you do work as well. So, is that, do you see a future there?
Well, possibly yes. I mean, and that stems out of the belief that I mean, if you either take responsibility for what you expect in the country, or you don't complain and just stay in your house. So, if I firmly believe that if good people are not willing to come into politics, they should be prepared to be governed by bad people. And I think leadership is a big crisis the world over. If you look at the U.S. elections, I mean, people really did not have a choice. And that seems to be a trend across the world, and that kind of explains the need for people who are educated, people who have a strong view on most social and social issues to come forward and play a constructive role rather than just be, be involved as a spectator.
Yeah. Yeah, or I would say maybe people have choices and then they're surprised by their own choices later.
I think it's
Or
about
what
taking
happens.
responsibility. It's not easy for the family because I can see it happening in my case. They consciously fear losing you, or because once you start getting involved with social issues, with political issues, um, you don't you belong to a larger section of people, not necessarily to just your home or the family. I'm not sure very many women are supportive of the spouses venturing into this. So I think I'm fortunate that way. And like I said, with due modesty, I've been a maverick all the while. And since I've not had a conventional career, I might as well experiment that much more from here, since I have age on my side, than, just pep up something which I've already done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the
And so what did
idea.
Right India do for you?
India made me a mentor. I had always wanted to mentor young writers, but I never had a platform like Right India. So I remember you had discussed the idea with me first. You had first discussed the idea with me almost a year before it actually got launched. But the way it was finally eventually structured and the way it shaped up, I think it was absolutely impeccable. I think a huge amount of planning has gone into it, and you had a wonderful team supporting you. Personally, for me, the whole idea of giving something back, because like I had not made a conscious effort until then to kind of engage with
Yes.
budding
So this helped you do
writers.
that.
So that has helped me do that and discover new talent.
Yes, yes. And it's been a wonderful experience working with you. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much,
Thank you so
Tuhi.
much. And I wish Right India the very best in its successive ventures and
Thank you.
successive editions. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.